Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 29, recording on Friday, September 18th, 2020. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
Love that point, why guy. We're going to be talking about the huge news this week. Sony announcing their prices, pretty much dominating in every possible way. And everyone talking about how it's a debacle that they have the most demand for a console I've ever seen in my life. And pre-orders and whether or not we pre-ordered, all that fun stuff relating to the PlayStation 5, as well as some stuff we've been playing. So let's stop fucking around. Let's get right into it.
Let's do it. Why not?
Let's do it.
Every other time we do a show, whether it's Ubi Forward, we go announcement by announcement talking about every piece of shit that they mention. But this time, cut through the tape. We're just going to the main news story first, which is the prices being revealed and release date of the PlayStation 5. $399 US for digital, $499 US for the 4K disc version of the console, and releasing November 12th, which is right around what we were guessing. And pre-orders went live this week. The debacle, I would assume, is relating to them just kind of going live and not having people count down towards it or have an official time when they go live. I'd put a lot of that blame on retailers potentially, but we'll get into it. First off, before we talk about the debacle, anything like that, who has pre-ordered their console? And which version did you pre-order?
So I was just sitting on the couch and an email popped up from Best Buy saying PS5 pre-orders are live. And I was like, what? I didn't hear about this. What's going on? So I just immediately clicked through, tried for the digital version. It was sold out. So I went for the standard. Now, one interesting thing that was going through my head, I got to wonder if this, I'm thinking conspiracy theory here, but, even earlier in the year, they were talking about supply chain issues, that there's going to be less supply. It's going to be hard to get a PS5. And this week, before they even had the press conference, there was a story floating around saying there's going to be even less than expected.
Which Sony said is not true, for the record. This is just pure speculation by video game journalists.
Well, wherever it came from, I got to wonder if it was planted by Sony, because, for me, that was definitely a factor. Not that I didn't want to pre-order, but I immediately was like, oh, I better not even look around and see if pre-orders are anywhere else. I got to get this right now because it's going to be hard to find.
Which is honestly a weird thought to have, because why not pre-order anyway? It's not like you can't return things in today's society. It's not like you're stuck with it. When we get to the debacle portion, the part I don't get the point I kind of like about the way it's being handled, and I'm sure a lot of it is the retailers just wanting to get their pre-orders out there for the other stuff like games, so everyone does it in one spot and they don't miss out on the money from those things that are not going to be in that high demand. Anyway, if they had a specific time where everything went on pre-orders, I just see all these secondary market people just buying them to try to scalp them basically anyway. So, that's what I liked about this. It was like, okay, if you're paying attention and you care, there was a chance to get one. I think there's going to be more. I think they're going to stagger them anyway, based on how many they've had so far. Retailers are probably just saying, look, we're pretty sure we're going to get this amount and we'll put it out there. We're confident we're going to get that, or maybe they have those numbers. But I prefer that in some ways to people just buying 100 of them and selling them on eBay, which would really piss me off.
Yeah, and I was reading some stuff about, I'm not that familiar with what goes on now, but, I guess there's a lot of bots and things, particularly that have come out of the, the shoe, the sneaker kind of culture, and people wanting to get really hard to get shoes as soon as they're available for sale. But, that's what I thought too. I thought, well, maybe they're doing this on purpose to kind of get around people buying them and reselling them. And I get why people would be pissed, because it feels like it's out of your control. But I have to think maybe you had a better chance at getting it this way than you would if they would have given a date and everyone's waiting at that exact moment to log on to all the retail sites.
Yeah,
Because
like what happens with Ticketmaster now, where, big concerts, it's just, well, someone buys them all up and they're already insanely priced. Well, Ticketmaster's gotten around that by basically having their own insane pricing for front row tickets with platinum seats, which is a whole nother debacle that I don't want to get into. They've just basically turned into the scalpers now, which is ridiculous. At least it's going to the artists in some way. I can get behind that more than actual scalpers. But anyway, if you can't tell, I'm fired up. Before the show started, I was going ballistic with some of the stuff. But anyway, I've also pre-ordered. I could only get the disc version as well. I'm going to try to get digital, and maybe I would sell my other one to someone who wants to get one that can't find one. I'm not looking to make money on it or anything like that.
Could be me.
It could be. I hate that stuff. I hate people just buying it to sell it and make money. It drives me crazy. Anyway, I pre-ordered a console. Let's get into it. Let's go pure PlayStation fanboy.
Well, hang on. Just before we go into it, I just looked up the sales data for the PS4.
Yeah.
And so Dwyer had brought up how like maybe there's some supply issues. Well, for the PS4, after a year or a little over a year, it had only sold 22 million copies or million units. So after like a year and a half, so this is from April 2015, according to Statista.com, the highly reputable. But so, I mean, like they're talking about 11 million or 15 million at launch. This says by August 2014, which is about 6 months after launch of, well, even more, it's like 10 months after launch, they had sold only 10 of PS4. So, I mean, if they're talking about having 11 or 15 at launch, that's still a high number relative to previous generations. So I know it's like, 4 million off or whatever they were reporting, but really still 11 million is quite a large console launch number anyways. So I don't think everyone needs to be freaking out unless it was a plant by Sony to try to drive those numbers like you were suggesting maybe.
Well, where is the outcry when the same thing happens every Nintendo launch? Like it.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Nintendo's debacle with everything.
There is outcry, but I think it is literally just that people felt like they had no chance to prepare for it, and I guess some people were pissed because Sony, I think, said pre-orders are going up the next day, and then that night retailers started doing it. So,
and that's the retailer. To me, that's how, I don't know how they control that. I don't know about, the rules for retail stuff either. So it could be PlayStation's fault too. And I just want to say, I agree. It does suck when you want it and can't get it. And I feel like that happens with every console, except for the ones people don't want, Xbox. And I mean, it is a reflection of the demand after this announcement. Clearly, they were listening to Game Junk and put their price at a level that is going to destroy Xbox. I already said it was over 7 months ago. I was correct 100%. And I mean, the demand is insane because there's such a clear, obvious choice to get this November. I'm not saying that'll be the case 2 years from now, but as far as the launch goes, it is over. Can we all agree on that? Can we all agree that it's over? There's
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say it's over already, Frank, but I mean, certainly there is more demand for Sony's. Now, it's interesting. Microsoft is trying to spin it a little bit and play on it. They put up like a tweet saying like, pre-orders are coming soon and we will let you know when they're coming. So, they had to call that out to try and stick one to Sony, but I don't necessarily think that's going to really help them at this point.
Don't guess what? No one's trying to go to the secondary market to sell Xbox Series S's this Christmas. Trust me.
So we should talk about the prices though, because, obviously Sony came in $100 less than the Series X for their top end one and just $100 more for their lower end one, which is actually just as powerful.
Let's be clear.
Right? Yeah, digital version, but it's not less powerful, unlike the Series S.
Right. Which huge, and everyone wants the digital console that I've talked to. So, well, maybe
Yeah.
a few
Except
people
me.
want the disc. Yeah, no, okay, that's good. So yeah, we got to talk trade, Huck. We got to get on the digital. I'll even take a hit, not a huge hit, but I'll take a hit. Change to
You'll eat the tax.
digital. Who knows? I'm open to anything.
Now, did you guys know ahead of time? Like, I don't remember. Did Sony officially announce that there was a digital version ahead of time?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah,
'cause
they had announced it in the first reveal.
Yeah.
They had the
Okay.
two side by side.
Okay. Because, I mean, that, I guess I wasn't thinking about that. And, you know, when Microsoft revealed the Series S and they had that cheap price point, it was kind of like, oh, well, this makes things a little more interesting. But, you know, now that, I don't know, Sony's prices, and not that they're like a huge surprise or anything, but, you know, some people had said that they might have had their disc version higher than the Series X. So I don't know if they, at the last minute, had to cut that one back. But I mean, it just doesn't, at this point, I feel like any sort of interesting twist or possible advantage Microsoft might have had, it kind of feels like it's gone already. And I don't know if that's just me. I mean,
You
I know
mean
Frank is heavily
Microsoft's
biased, so I
record?
can't.
I'm not biased. If you remember 6 years ago or whatever, to me it was clear the Xbox was a better consumer experience than the PlayStation 4. Okay? And I just go by whatever is released, whatever I think is better. I switch back and forth. We talk about my phases all the time. I'm not biased. I am clearly just expressing how good I think the best products are. That's it. And I switch all the time.
Yeah.
If something is good enough to make me switch. I own them all. It's not like I don't buy it. It's not like I don't play the games on them. I'm telling you, I own them all. I try them all. One is clearly the best, and it's not even close.
I must say though, I don't think it's as clear cut as you Frank, not so much Sean, are making it out to be. Mainly because like obviously Sony has the advantage in first parties, but
Okay,
if
and that is
you're
a staggering advantage.
sure, but I mean, you look at the games that are coming out. So this is the one other thing they announced outside of the whatever main conference, that some of the exclusive quote unquote PS5 exclusive games are actually also coming to PS4, like Horizon, like the new Sackboy game, and what was the last one?
Demon Souls, you said.
No, it was the Spider-Man game.
Oh yeah. Well, I was already expecting Spider-Man to be a lower end version anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, you have so other than Ratchet and Clank, which is probably the other big launch title, I guess Demon Souls, but I mean, people have played Demon Souls already, really. Like they obviously haven't played this version, but in theory, that's not going to be driving. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. It's a pretty big series, but you don't really have that many amazing games. You don't have God of War yet. You don't have an Uncharted Naughty Dog type game at launch, right? You only have Ratchet and Clank, and like I don't know how big is Ratchet and Clank now. I don't think it's that big. Like they might sell 5 million copies because it's a launch title, but I don't think they're going to sell like 15. I don't think it's going to be like everyone who gets a console is going to get Ratchet and Clank. It's not like Mario.
Can I counterpoint that?
Sure.
What does Xbox have?
No, nothing. That's what I'm saying though. But I mean, if you don't want to, if you are buying a console to basically play just Ratchet and Clank, then buy a PS5. But if you want to play other games, you might look at the Xbox because they have, for whatever it is, $16 a month Canadian or whatever, you get Xbox Ultimate and you get basically unlimited games, more games than you could ever want. And you could play that for 2 years and then go buy a PS5 and get all the exclusives.
That's a totally different argument than like what a consumer should do that wants a console versus if you're buying a next gen console, which one should you buy?
Well, what do you mean? What's the difference? Why?
I mean,
So you're talking about a hardcore gamer versus...
That's like arguing why not buy a PS4 and wait for the PS5? You're just saying wait, like because you can make
if you only want
PlayStation Plus collection, which has better games than Game Pass.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. But I think if you want third-party games, you know, you're not like attached to any of the big Sony first party. games and you just want to get into the next gen to play Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, then maybe the Series S is a pretty good way to do that.
My head's gonna explode. I don't get it. I don't care. Go ahead, buy the Series S. All power to you. Defend these insane, strategies by Microsoft. By any means, go nuts. We'll see where we are in a year from now.
I just don't think it's insane.
You stand by your decision. That you know what, it's a toss up. It's a fucking toss up. You don't know. They're both looking pretty good. It's not even close, and it's crazy to me that the media, game media, is like saying, who knows? A lot of debate here between these two consoles. There is no debate. I'm not saying a year from now, Microsoft can't rebound or do something better. With what the information we currently have, it is not even close. And the demand and debacle for this holiday season clearly is a key indicator as to who has won or who is in the lead. Let's rephrase that. Who is currently in the lead, and it's not even close.
I don't doubt that Sony is going to be in the lead after the launch, but I'm just saying you're treating it like no one should buy an Xbox ever because it's
currently,
trash.
This holiday season, no one should buy an Xbox unless
I disagree.
You are literally you are so committed to the Xbox brand. If you are open to both, it's not even close.
You're blind, buddy. You're blind to obvious. Another option. You're blind to another option.
I'm not blind. I'm going to buy it. I'm clearly not blind. So
the delay of Halo Infinite was a big deal.
I've been like, you know what? I might actually wait and use my shopper's points. I don't need that console the day it comes out. No, I'm going to buy it. Let's not lie. But I literally don't care that much if I get one or not. That's all that you need to know. I've always cared whether I have a console when it comes out. I don't even care if I get one or not.
Right. And like I said, Halo Infinite being delayed was a huge thing for Microsoft a huge blow to Microsoft, because that could have been the big first party game that everyone wants. People need to have that console for Christmas, and they don't have that now. But let's it sounds like I'm like really mad. I'm not mad. I'm incredulous to the responses of everyone acting like, oh, no big deal. We'll see what happens. If we're here giving opinions about like these big announcements, and it's so weird to me. Like you're saying it like from the point of view of like yourself and, hardcore gamers more than anything. But you got to understand there's a whole other market out there, people who aren't really paying that much attention, who will just look at the price tag and be like, okay, sure. Like that's definitely a factor. Whether that's a factor right at launch, I don't know.
Well, we really don't talk about games from the casual perspective. I don't think that's what this is about.
Yeah, but I mean,
if someone was casual about games, why would they be listening to this? Like,
I'm not saying you have to we're talking about who's going to win the console war. And that's a factor that you seem to be blind to a little bit.
Well, economically, stock prices, I don't care. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not Michael Pachter.
What are we talking? Most units sold?
No, I'm talking about as a gamer, if you saw these two things, which one would you want? And I would say it's probably 80-20 right now if you polled people in the world. For people who play games, that sounds like a bit of a landslide to me. Just saying. Anyway, I'm getting fired up. I gotta say, my blood pressure's rising. My face is. And it's not anger; it's incredulity, to quote the Blue Raja in Mystery Men.
I just got to say that, like, in my opinion, I don't think you should buy either. I don't think there's enough new stuff. I mean, obviously, there are some good third parties like Valhalla and I don't know, whatever another game coming out is, Watch Dogs. But like those games are going to be playable on the old one. And if you get the series, if you have Xbox One, you can upgrade whenever you upgrade. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think
same statement hold true for the PlayStation though.
Yeah, totally.
Like
That's what
it's
I'm
a
saying.
wash. That's a wash.
I'm saying you shouldn't buy either console
I get
this
that.
holiday.
I
I
would
think you should wait. I think you should wait until Halo Infinite comes out and wait until probably the new God of War comes out. And like, for me, if I'm looking at the beautiful library shelves of the PS5, back, and I'm looking at what I want to pick up, there's nothing there at launch. Nothing. Except for Spider-Man, which I could just buy on my PS4. And, you know, the New Horizon is 2021, but who knows when? It's not going to be early 2021. Let's get real. Like, it's going to be later. It's
Okay.
going to be next holiday.
Now, let's not compare it to existing consoles because we never do that with console launches. The PS4 came out. Let's look back at the Xbox One launch and the PlayStation 4 launch. There was also nothing for those consoles. So clearly you're making a decision as to whether or not you want a new console and you want to be part of the first phase. There's always early adopter. That's basically what these launches are about. Who is going to be early adopters to stuff? At least for the last few console iterations, there's been very little at launch going back to the GameCube. The GameCube suffered from the same issue. There was very little intriguing stuff until 6 or 7 months out. So to me, that's state of the land or state of the union for console launches in the past 10 years. So I'm just saying, if you are planning on getting a new console, which is to me what we're talking about, you got it. It's not even close. Anyway, I'm done. That's it. Rant over. Let me tell you what I pre-ordered. Pre-ordered the console, got a second controller charging stand, headset, media remote, and camera. So and you know what? Anyway,
pretty heavily invested in the Sony ecosystem at this point.
You can either have a mortgage on your house or the PS5 bundle.
If anything, that just says something about the power of PlayStation. I am ready. Well, let's get into the announcements a bit more. It's too heated. Let's chill a bit, all right?
Need to go turn on the air conditioner or open a window first?
Let's do a Nintendo, what do they call it? Nintendo Sandbox or something like that. Let's chill.
The Direct Mini? Oh.
Treehouse?
Treehouse.
Treehouse. Let's Treehouse. Let's talk about Squirtle and Pokemon. Let's relax a little bit. We don't want to get angry or heated. Everything's amazing. Let's talk the actual other announcements at this thing. Now that the heavy stuff is over with, I gotta say, first thing, Final Fantasy 16. I think it looks pretty good, to be perfectly honest. I like that it's going to an old school PlayStation or Final Fantasy style, a little more fantasy oriented than modern, like some of the stuff, or medieval maybe. I don't know the best way to, or classic fantasy style.
Yeah, I'd say medieval.
But I thought it was a pretty big deal that it's a console exclusive. Now, I don't know if it's a launch window or what it is, but I thought that was a pretty big deal. And it actually looked pretty good. I thought it.
Well, why did that surprise you though? Final Fantasy VII Remake is a console exclusive too to Sony.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, Xbox has been putting a lot of the old Final Fantasy stuff on Game Pass. It seems like they've actually been developing a relationship with Square Enix when it comes to Final Fantasy. The 7 stuff, I mean, let's be honest, that was announced like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So that was established, whatever that deal was, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, based on what I was seeing with Game Pass, those two companies had made pretty big strides, also with some exclusivity stuff with Tomb Raider between them and Square Enix, that I thought maybe that, exclusivity or association in general with Sony and Final Fantasy was maybe starting to fade away a bit. But I mean, this kind of brought it all back. And I think it's a big franchise. People care about Final Fantasy. So to get that as an exclusive, to me, is a huge win for Sony.
Well, who knows when this game's actually going to come out, too. I mean, Final Fantasies take a long time. But to me, it looked good as well. And it looked kind of like Final Fantasy 15 with more of a traditional magic system kind of thrown on top, which I think would be good. I mean, most of the games especially with like Final Fantasy VII Remake. This action style RPG, I think works pretty well, especially if they kind of take what Final Fantasy 15 had and merge it with the Final Fantasy 7 remake stuff. I think it could work really well. And I like the setting. I think it's going to be pretty good. But
Yeah,
obviously no idea what the release date is, so.
Absolutely.
the action thing kind of surprised me, and I mean, not that I've really played a ton of Final Fantasy games or have really kept up with this series, but like, is that, aside from the remake that just came out, is that what the last few games have been like, or are they still more like pure RPGs?
No, it was very, like Huck said, reflective of Final Fantasy 15's style and combat, I would say, but in a different vibe.
Hmm.
Yeah, 14 was like an MMORPG, so that one isn't really a good comparison. And 13 was it mostly action? I can't remember exactly. This
That
was
was the
like the
one that
lightning
was very
returns and stuff.
linear. 13 was
Yeah,
very linear and kind of auto combat stuff with some decision making. So less action focused, I would say, compared to 15 and the
yeah.
7 remake. So
I
I'd
think
say
it
this is pretty much par for the course lately. And I
Yeah, I
think,
think 13 they were trying to choose like different battle styles. It was almost like a rock paper scissors type mechanic. So instead of just mashing like attack, you'd actually have to change up your style, almost like in kind of like Ghost of Tsushima, where you have like different stances to attack different types of enemies. I think that's what 13
well,
did.
it was a simplification of the gambit system, I believe, in either 12 or possibly 10, where it was like, yeah, like you said, a style, whether they're healing or attacking and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that was 12.
It was really on autopilot. I know it was generally unpopular with Final Fantasy fans, and they've gotten away from that with 15 and 7 remake. And I'd say the combat's kind of similar to Kingdom Hearts in a lot of
A little
ways.
bit, yeah.
I think it's looking pretty good, but I mean, like, it's still a ways away. I don't want to get too crazy about it.
Yeah, just on the topic of it being a console exclusive too, this was one of two games that the trailer originally said coming to PC as well, and then they removed that. And when people asked about it, they said we have nothing to announce at this time. So it seems pretty good chance it's coming to PC, but they
Mhm.
just don't want people to know that right now.
Which seems to be, again, par for the course, right? Everything is, both consoles and excluding Nintendo are bringing a lot of their stuff to PC right away, and it's just a market that they feel they're never going to penetrate, and you might as well make money there if you're never going to convince them to buy a console.
Well, especially now with so many game companies using engines that support them all
Yeah.
very easily. I mean, it doesn't take a ton of work. I mean, that's what I do is I do that sort of work. So it doesn't take that much work to get it to work, especially when you're going from a console that has a ton of restrictions to PC, which basically has none.
Yeah,
So
and you're probably developing it on PC anyway. Even I
yeah,
think it was Final Fantasy that had all this is captured on a
PC.
PS5 like
Yeah.
computer or
Mhm.
emulation computer, something like that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So intriguing. I thought it was, just in terms of exclusivity, a pretty significant win for Sony. But exclusivity is so nebulous these days as well. Like, is it a, how long is it? Is it truly exclusive? These games that I thought were exclusive, like Cuphead and Ori and Horizon, are all starting to seep into other stuff. If they can make money, they're going to, for the most part. So Nintendo's the only true bastion of exclusivity left in the world, and kind of respect them for that. Um, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, this was announced later that it's coming for PS4, and as I stated, really probably just using a lot of the same stuff from Spider-Man on PS4, and the fact that it was shipping this Christmas always, to me, gave me the vibe it would be, not the peak experience we can expect from this console. Not that launch titles ever are, but the stuff they showed I thought looked pretty good. I'll be honest, it didn't like blow me away. It felt like a bit more of the same from Spider-Man 4. What I was impressed by was the setting and the look of the effects. So I like the, looks like a winter setting. I thought Miles Morales' jacket with that huge fur or whatever fluffy hood looked amazing. I thought that was really cool. And when they walked through the street festival, I thought like the lighting and all of that stuff looked really amazing. And the effects in combat seems to be where they've probably leveraged next gen technology. Like those effects and lighting looked fantastic on the bridge in the fight sequence there. I'm definitely excited for it. I don't think it's that huge of a step up, but it is kind of a minor sequel to a very good game, and I think and it's cheaper as well, which I think is a pretty good thing. I don't think it's going to be that long, which to me is a plus, but might be a problem for other people.
They do have a version of it as well that comes with like a, I don't know if it's remastered or what, but it comes with the previous game as well.
Okay.
That's
so
$70.
Versions of it. Yeah.
And I guess while you're mentioning that, we should say they've announced that what percent did you say, Sean, of stuff is backwards compatible with PlayStation 4?
Supposedly 99% of PS4
99?
games
Okay.
are working with the PS5 now.
And Huck, you had mentioned before. Go ahead.
Yeah, no PS1, PS2, or PS3 backwards compatibility. So that is confirmed now.
Has Microsoft announced whether Xbox 360 stuff is compatible with the Series X?
I believe everything is.
They've said Xbox 360 will work on Series X?
I believe so, because it's
think
all
so.
available right now.
I mean, they've been kind of pushing this quite a bit, but
Yeah, it's all about the one ecosystem thing.
Yeah,
like it all works on Xbox One. I can't imagine it not working on Series X. It's going to be the same
assume
thing.
they are. Anything that works on Xbox One current X, I assume is going to work on Series X, but I just couldn't remember if they officially announced it.
Yeah, I think they've been touting the like 4 generations of games on their platform.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
although they did say the Series S will not support the Xbox One X enhancements for old games, but
That's because it's the 4K.
yeah.
Downscaling stuff that Huck talked about last episode.
Yeah.
Next, I think was
Well, hang on. Before we jump over Spider-Man, I just wanted to say that it looks like, as far as the gameplay goes, that the Spider-Man abilities are almost more like magical. Like there was more of like harnessing effects. Now, I don't know if it's just like technological things, but there was a lot of like flair to all of his attacks that were going on. And also I noticed that there was a lot of awesome camera work where it would go from like a cinematic and it would just do this really nice transition right into gameplay, or at least it appeared to be. I would assume it is. But I remember in the last game, there was a lot more hard cuts in between, kind of like a cutscene, and then you'd get back to the action of him just standing around after. So if they could do it where like they had that cutscene of the bridge falling down and then basically he swings in and you start taking over right from there, like that'll be a really cool upgrade to the old Spider-Man game, because I don't recall that really happening in the original version that we got on PS4.
I mean, the thing I remember that was really good with regards to that in the original was when missions ended and you were kind of perched on stuff, it would always really elegantly transition to the gameplay camera when you were perched on buildings. I thought that was really good. But yeah, there was a lot of cool dynamic stuff going on with the camera in this. And,
I mean, it's a big launch title. That's definitely, something I will be picking up day one. I got to say, though, one thing that I was thinking watching this, like, probably not possible, but it would have been real cool if they could have done the style of Into the Spider-Verse with this game.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would imagine maybe a suit in that style, it will be in the works, kind of like the cel-shaded one on the original Spider-Man. But, I mean, that's cool. Definitely not a needle mover, though, even though it was my favorite suit in Spider-Man originally. Okay, so Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy RPG, it looks like, coming to the PlayStation 5, and I'm assuming every console at some point. I thought it looked okay. I'm not a huge Potterphile, but I guess it looks reasonably cool. I thought the teachers looked kind of neat. I wonder if it's going to go for a bit of a Persona vibe with the relationships with students and teachers at Hogwarts. But
They did seem to imply that a little bit.
yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. Like I said, I don't really care that much at this point. If it's once we see a little bit more of gameplay, I could be intrigued. But to me, this is overall in the console wars a non-mover. It's dead middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool just in the sense that I think almost every Harry Potter game that's been made to date has been targeted right at kids, which I guess makes sense. But I mean, certainly Harry Potter fans are a bit older now. I mean, something that, is aimed at a bit of an older audience and it has a bit of a darker edge makes sense. And I think could be cool, but I didn't get a good sense of what the game is yet.
Yeah, I thought it looked good too. I thought there were some really neat environments that they showed that you're obviously going to be exploring. And then with like the Hogwarts castle and how it's pretty mysterious itself might be a really interesting, place to explore. I haven't read all the books. I've watched all the movies though, and I thought it looked pretty cool.
Cool. I'm not going to spend that much time on a lot of the
Yep.
third-party stuff because we've talked about some of it before too. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, some actual like campaign gameplay, which looked okay, but definitely got the same vibe I did with Halo Infinite, where it looked really on rails and like they knew exactly what they were doing. I had some trouble imagining how I would have played that sequence if I didn't.
Yeah, it looked almost too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a Call of Duty game. It looks pretty good. The technology looks good, but I don't know. Again, down the middle in terms of console wars.
Especially because it's coming to Xbox too, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's Switzerland, baby. Don't care. Resident Evil Village, and it says gameplay trailer, but I don't know if I wasn't watching close enough. I didn't think there was much gameplay here.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm not alone in that. This game got announced before. I still think it looks really good. I'm still in love with the marketing idea of Village turning into the number 8. Probably my favorite thing about the game at this point. But I do think the setting looks really cool and unique for a Resident Evil game. I am legit excited for this game. And it's something I might typically not be that hyped for, but it is up there in terms of my most anticipated games right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But again, down the middle. I'm assuming it's coming to every console. Nothing else has been stated otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Deathloop, new gameplay trailer for that, which we had talked about before, got delayed to 2021, first or second quarter, I think. Q2. This was announced as a console exclusive to PlayStation, which I did not see coming at all from a Bethesda game. So either they think it's going to be really good and they're putting money on it. I mean, there's a lot of marketing money and just money going into the presentation of this game and the videos that accompany it every time I see it, which is kind of weird, but I'm intrigued by it. I'm certainly not like dying to play it, but I did find it interesting that it is a console exclusive to PlayStation.
Pretty sure it's a timed exclusive. But,
okay, could be. I mean,
as you've been saying, how much stuff is really exclusive these days. But I'm looking forward to this. I was kind of disappointed that it got delayed, but yeah, it looks cool.
I didn't really, after watching this gameplay trailer, I got a different feel for the game than I did after seeing it before. Before I thought it was like just some sort of Dishonored type shooter, but now it seems almost like a Hitman game. Like the newer Hitman games with this like Deathloop twist where almost like you're playing Hitman, but then there's a Hitman after you. And I don't know, like I think I'd rather just play Hitman personally. I think that is more interesting, that world. And I mean, they've perfected this sort of, track a person and figure out where they're going to be and then take them out silently. And I don't know. This game is not.
I saw it completely differently. I mean, I definitely see comparisons to Hitman in terms of the story and stuff like that, but this seemed like them kind of embracing something in between Dishonored and Doom in terms of pace of gameplay. It seemed very fast paced and more about like how quickly you can do these time loops or efficiently, which maybe is inspired by speed running stuff. I don't know. Tough. It's all speculation at this point. But yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. I was never that excited for this game, but was surprised to see exclusivity included in the announcement. Any thoughts, Sean?
No, not really. I agree with Huck. Like the story in it was not exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I'm kind of intrigued as to how that turns into a game. Like it seemed like the idea is that you have to, within a certain amount of time, you have to kill all these people, but then things keep changing and they're coming after you. So, you keep not being able to do that and having to restart the loop again, which I don't know, could be annoying if you just have to keep repeating yourself. It could be frustrating if things don't keep changing and evolving, but I don't know. It seems like a cool concept, though. I'm still very intrigued.
Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, not really a big deal to me. Looked okay. Still haven't played it. Had me a little more intrigued to play it again, but I don't know if that'll happen.
Nope, no comment.
Right. Oddworld Soulstorm, which had been shown before. I think it looked a bit better this time to me in terms of leveraging next gen technology. I've always liked the world and the ideas behind Oddworld. Gameplay, I'm not as crazy about, but it's been a long time since I played one. Huck's giving the thumbs down. Go ahead, Huck.
I don't know what the appeal of these Oddworld games is. I've tried some of them and I don't like them at all. And I will not even. This is like a negative meter for me. This is a detractor. Like I don't even want this game on PlayStation 5.
It makes him want to get an Xbox because
it does. Yeah, it might push me to Xbox. Just seeing this PS5 spine on this game.
All right, fair enough. Five Nights at Freddy's announced. I guess this game's popular. It means absolutely nothing to me in terms of negative impact. The jump scare embracement of the trailer secured that I will never play one of these games. As far as I know, they're kind of jump scare factories. No thanks.
Kieran was trying to get me to play one of these or like a mod version of one of these games, and I just do not get the appeal. Like it is literally just jump scare factories, and each character has a certain way that you have to do something to, if they show up, make them go away. So you just have to remember all these different ways to disarm these people, I guess. But the thing that's weird to me is like these games have been on mobile for a long time. Like I didn't quite understand if this is some sort of big graphical upgrade to these games. Like it does not feel like it needs to be on a console from what I saw.
Yeah, I think it's just there because of its popularity. In this regard, I'll just say we're old. We don't get Five Nights at Freddy's. We will never get it. And I don't care to. I'm not in some games. I'm like, I wish I could get that. Like Animal Crossing. I'm like, I want to try it. I want to get it. This game, I have no desire to get whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of streamers kind of like made their name on this game when it first came out. And that's how it got popularity. People just like watching other people get scared, I guess, or something. So, Frank, you should probably stream this bad boy on Game Junk and get our views through the roof.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to be so mad at me because I clearly am biased towards PlayStation.
There you go.
So
see?
obvious.
You got to ride that gravy train.
You want to watch this PlayStation fanboy play a game. Anyway, before I get into, to me, the biggest announcement, I'll take care of the last, or two more. Unreal 4, Fortnite gameplay revealed. Just a little trailer saying Fortnite would be available at launch. Certainly not a shocker to me at all. I thought what was going to be announced, and in terms of the Epic versus Apple, I thought they were going to cut a deal where like V-Bucks are the cheapest possible on PlayStation. So you can actually have the cheapest Fortnite experience on PlayStation, and they would have struck a like whatever commission PlayStation wants to drive people to play on that. I thought that would have actually been a huge announcement, but nothing like that. So they probably make more people angry in terms of everyone like, why am I getting screwed over on other consoles? And who knows where they're at with their valiant fight against Apple these days. But being sarcastic, of course. But yeah, not a big deal to me. It's Fortnite. Why wouldn't it be on PlayStation 5?
Yeah, I think it's just that it's a graphical enhancement or something. The next gen version of Fortnite. I don't know how good it looks on PC, on a really souped up PC, but whatever.
Okay, and PlayStation Plus collection announced, which I don't have the list of games here. I was actually impressed with the list of games. Now, they are older games, but to me, there are some amazing games on it, and I was debating this on messages with you guys, but like 5 of these games are better than anything that's ever been on Game Pass, ever. And
okay, so
to me, let's talk about it. I don't think it's a big deal, that big of a deal. Like these games aren't that expensive. It's not a huge deal. But if you had never gotten, like, let's say you were always on Xbox, right? And you're looking at these two things. You see, man, the Series X and Series S are complete pieces of shit. But I'm an Xbox fanboy. What am I going to do? And then you've never played these games before. A lot of them, the exclusives. It's starting to sweeten the deal a bit to me. Like, okay, I have to admit those games are good. Even though I'm a fanboy, I'm jealous of those games. I want to play them. Even though I'll never say it, I actually think they're amazing and want to play them. So I think it's a pretty good deal if you're going to get PlayStation Plus anyway.
You've never played those games. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So here's I got the list of games here. It's God of War, The Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Battlefield 1, Monster Hunter World, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, The Last Guardian, Ratchet and Clank, Infamous Second Son, Days Gone, Bloodborne, Detroit Become Human, Batman Arkham Knight, Mortal Kombat 10, Persona 5 Until Dawn, and Resident Evil Biohazard. So definitely some great games there. And I think, so when we were talking about it, I will admit, like, I feel like when the announcement happened, I was in my head thinking, okay, this is it. They're announcing like their version of Game Pass. And, you know, people have been talking about it in that context. I don't think that's totally fair. And I think when we were debating it, that's kind of what we were debating. And I still think Game Pass is amazing, way better than this. But I don't think that's really what this is. Like, you know, one thing that people have brought up is if you have, so we talked about the backwards compatibility thing for PS5. Now, if you have the PS4 and you have games on disc, and then you get the digital version of PS5, they haven't said how you can, if there's a way to play those games, like to say, hey, on your account, you own these games, so you can download them digitally on PS5. Maybe this is a way around it or something they've done as like a little stopgap solution. I'm not sure.
Just
but that
to be
could
fair,
be a factor.
Xbox doesn't do that exactly what you said either. You still have to put the disc in the console. You don't get access to it digitally.
Right. So yeah, I don't know exactly if that's the reasoning behind this, but I mean, it just seems like it's a way to at launch have more big games to try and pull people in to the PS5. But yeah, the problem is like if you have PlayStation Plus, if you have a PS4, pretty good chance you've played a lot of these games already. And for me, wasn't a needle mover, but I could see why for some people it would be.
It's not a major needle mover, just, I guess, to me, it's just like gravy. Take everything you've got so far, pour a little gravy on that too. You never know what's going to happen. And if you've never played these, like I said, they're all great games for the most part. So the last thing I'll talk about, which to me was the most significant thing.
You missed one game you're going to skip over.
No, well, this is the one I'm talking about, I'm assuming. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No. There's another thing too, which we'll save for last, I guess, like the presentation. You know what? Let's get into it next. God of War Ragnarok. That's not the one I thought was the most important announcement of the show.
Oh, okay.
Um, Again, if I'm going to criticize Nintendo for showing a Metroid Prime 4 Flash movie and never releasing anything, I'll say that's all this is, really. It's just saying they're working on a sequel to God of War. Shocker. Uh, but I mean, it is intriguing that it's coming out in 2021. Now, obviously, video game release dates these days are a whole nother thing. If they stick to that release date, I will truly be impressed. But I mean, I'm not surprised that that was announced, but it's just a little teaser. It's nothing really.
Yeah. The only, if you want to really read into it, I guess you could say that you know that Kratos is coming back because there was the voice of Kratos there. So you know it's not his son that's like taking over or whatever.
And I think when I replayed God of War towards the end of the game and all throughout it, they were really alluding to Ragnarok. So I always kind of assumed that's what this game would be.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's like the big thing in Norse mythology anyways. So.
And I remember the director, Corey Balrog or whatever, saying someone had brought him a story at first. And if he was being accurate, it was this one. And he said, no, that should be the sequel. Let's do a lead up to that as the first game. So I don't know if this was actually the one that was brought to him at some point, but they could have had ideas and story ideas already in place and building stuff for that for a while now. So the release date isn't that surprising to me. And I'm assuming they have 400 people working on it. And if they're using a lot of the same systems, it's probably mostly art assets, design, and motion capture stuff. So,
yeah.
Okay. So, Sean, do you agree with most of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, not too much to talk about, but it's obviously exciting to just know what it is and that it's coming next year.
Okay, so finally, Demon Souls, which had previously been announced, it actually showed some gameplay. This was the most impressive thing I saw in the whole presentation, because I've played that first Soul of Demon Souls when it came out, and everything about this looked better. Obviously graphically, but just the way it played, it felt cinematic, but still a game. And the lighting, fog, all this stuff, the atmosphere and technology in this little gameplay demo blew me away. And obviously I've come to love Sekiro and have a new appreciation for these style of games. So I am extremely excited by what I saw here. And what wasn't revealed in the show, but afterwards, this is available at launch. This is a launch title, which to me is a needle mover and a pretty big deal. And I wasn't expecting much from this remake, to be perfectly honest, in terms of graphical fidelity. I'll say it. I was blown away by what I saw at this thing. And out of all the stuff I've seen next gen, that's going to come out in the next 7 months or so, 8 months, Ratchet and Clank is probably close to this, but I think at this point I'm more excited for this game.
The lighting in particular was so impressive. Like, I actually wasn't sure if it was CG or real time. I couldn't really tell. That's how good it looked. And the animations were super slick.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that was kind of
like those animated deaths and the camera that followed it, like when I think he put a sword to someone in the ground as a finisher. The camera movement on that was fucking insane. It looked incredible.
Yeah, and the only thing that was suspect to me was that there was no HUD. Now, obviously, they can remove the HUD for the trailer if it's gameplay, but that I was like, I don't know, this looks way too good.
I'm with you, Huck, a bit here. There is this gameplay. Like
I don't know. Yeah,
it looks too fluid.
And this could be a Killzone 2 situation here.
Yeah,
this is just.
Yeah, let me qualify what I'm saying. If that is gameplay, legit, captured on a PS5, I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you were saying about, what was the other one you were talking about that you said looked a little too fluid, a little too fast? Call of Duty?
Call of Duty.
Yeah, that thought definitely crossed my mind, but I mean, I am not familiar with these games at all. I mean, it looked interesting, and I feel like I do want to try these one of these days. I know they're not really for me, and I'll probably get frustrated immediately and never want to play it again, but I'm curious. Certainly these games have been highly influential, and have design ideas from these games have been used in a lot of games over the past decade. So
I must say, it did make me almost pull out this bad boy and throw that in my PS3.
I gotta say, I'm looking at screenshots on the PlayStation blog that were released on the same day. They're not nearly as impressive as what I saw in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know. There might be some smoke and mirrors here, to be perfectly honest. And I haven't done that much research after the fact, so I might have been fooled. We might have a hoverboard situation here. I am truly embarrassed if that's the case.
I mean, it's
I don't know.
being
I'm looking
labeled
at a
as
couple.
official gameplay video on a lot of
Let me
sites.
send you
So
this link, though, and just look at the screenshots. And, like, it's definitely not a needle mover if I'm looking at just these screenshots. But the video was insane. It like blew me away.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. There's only like 3 screenshots, right?
Yeah. And they look not that impressive.
Yeah.
Like any
Interesting.
captured screenshot from that video would have been more impressive than this.
Yeah, there was especially one where there was like that big fat enemy where the lighting was just insane. Like I remember looking, like you could see the darkness kind of like around his body and stuff, and it just looked so impressive. But
Well, I guess there's still a little that remains to be seen with regards to this game. But yeah, I'm pumped. I am truly pumped, and I don't think I've been this excited for a console launch. Console lunch. I'm gonna have a console. Probably. I'm trying to think. I think it would have been Nintendo 64 was the last time I was this excited.
wow, that's huge.
pretty excited.
Oh. Okay, so I'm obviously gonna say, I'd give this whole presentation A minus, something like that, in terms of getting me excited. I will say I stand by my statements that I made 8 months ago, 7 months ago. It is over. I'm not saying both can't coexist, but it's, again, not even close, in my opinion. I've heard no one, let's say we're even judging it on casual gamers. I have a lot of friends that are casual gamers, and they'll text me and say, what should I buy? What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. I've had several people text me about the PlayStation 5. No one's mentioned, how do I get my...
Also, let's be honest.
Pre-orders on the Series X and Series S. Not a peep.
Well, the biggest thing is the naming convention for Microsoft's consoles is so, it's so not intuitive that, like, it just makes sense to get the PS5. It's straightforward. Like, okay, I know that is the next gen console. Like, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, Xbox One S, Xbox One, Xbox Series S. Like, what the hell?
Let me
who
rephrase
knows what
my
you're
numbers.
getting.
Let me recalibrate my numbers. I said 80-20 before. Let me switch to 90-10. I actually forgot about that. Very good point, Hawk.
Yeah, I saw some people actively making fun of that stuff, like the comedian Paul F. Tompkins, who I don't know if he's a gamer or not, but he tweeted out, I think when they announced that the Series S would not have the One X enhancements, whatever the line was for that was just like so confusing. And he was like, makes perfect sense.
So, we'll let you know when ours are available for pre-order. Wink. What a joke. Anyway, I don't care. I'm gonna buy the Series X anyway. I can't even say it right at this point. So whatever. Not even close. We're good to go. You want to get into what we played? Was there anything else we needed to cover?
Well, there was actually quite a bit of news. I could just go over it super fast. Nintendo had a mini direct. They announced 2 Monster Hunter games, a fitness boxing game, Disgaea 6, and then a bunch of other games that have come from other consoles. So I know those Monster Hunter games are huge, especially in Japan. So I'm sure those are big gets. They were both, I believe both of them were Switch exclusives. So those are both kind of big gets. And I'm pretty sure Monster Hunter World did not start on the Switch either. And I don't know if these will eventually go other places, but so those were some big announcements. And then I don't know, does anyone want to comment on any of that stuff?
Absolutely not.
No, I mean, I haven't played any Monster Hunter games, but I've heard that they're pretty fun multiplayer experiences, so I've always been a little curious, but they're definitely outside my realm of knowledge at this point.
Yeah. Then there's two other things. One I forgot to mention pre-show, but Oculus Quest 2 got announced, which the main selling factor is that it's a higher resolution, lower cost than the original Quest. And the Quest, for anyone that doesn't know, is a VR headset that doesn't require a computer. It's a standalone box, no sensors you need to place around your around your room. It
No
basically has
wires or
built-in cameras.
cables.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's literally just the headset and the controllers. It senses everything in the world, so you don't bump into anything. It has like 4 front-facing cameras and then a bunch of like internal stuff to track everything. So it's really easy, and it's only going to be $299 US, whereas the original Oculus Quest was $399 US. And the resolution is higher. I'm looking at some stats. The frame rate that it can reach is not as high as some like the Valve Index, for instance, which is the higher end, but it weighs less than every other VR headset that I could tell out there, and it's got a little more memory, a little more RAM. So it seems to be like a really nice option for VR at a very affordable price.
Lightweight, improved technology. Now is the perfect time to get your virtual reality porn device.
Exactly, exactly.
Like
You don't have to worry about it falling off.
even pretending that's not what this is about. So, I mean, it's a pretty good deal. I hadn't heard about it and looked it up before the show, and it seems pretty cool.
Yeah. And the other last thing was we didn't mention it last week, but NVIDIA had a big announcement, and they announced their new graphics cards. I think it's like the 370, no, 3070, 3070, 3080, 3090.
I think the 3080 is the one everyone is kind of excited for.
Yeah, so that one is like a crazy leap, and it's cheap, I believe.
The 3080 sold out pretty much everywhere online in the US right now.
Yeah, and instantly. And so that is a big graphical jump. I was watching some Digital Foundry stuff, and they were saying they haven't seen like a leap like this where so normally what NVIDIA does is they come out with the high-end model, and then they come out with a model called the TI like 6 months later, which is essentially like a souped up version. And they were saying normally the TI still is better from the previous year, is still better than like the 80 level of the next year. But this year, the 80 level is better even than the TI from last year. So it is quite a jump in performance. And they were saying like, this is some pretty incredible stuff, especially if you're doing like 4K gaming and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Good
to me,
luck finding one.
that's a bigger deal than for Xbox than any of Xbox's announcements. Like like in terms of their Game Pass stuff, having great new video cards, maybe they're like counting on that a bit as well, but there's definitely a huge demand for that, probably comparable to the PlayStation 5. So that is a pretty big deal. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know a lot about PC stuff, but I'm pretty sure they had been pretty stagnant with video cards for quite some time. Like no new ones have been announced for a long time. So the huge upgrade definitely makes sense. And I believe there was shortages on
I think they were announcing them, but I don't think it was that they were far apart. I think it was just the shortages, and I think they were blaming that on Bitcoin miners.
Yeah, there was a whole thing with that, I remember. But no, I'm just saying because they haven't made a new video card in so long, I'm assuming the leap is a bit bigger than it usually is when they have more frequent.
No, I think it's the same pace. I think
really?
The video cards have been coming out at the same pace. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's changed. I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's been pretty standard.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely a big deal for sure in games right now.
So, and I think essentially those cards are what's going to be in like all the next gen, boxes.
Maybe time to upgrade the Alienware. I don't know.
Not waste your money.
Yeah, well, I think even that middle tier card is like $800 US, so it's not like a
Yeah.
cheap investment. And I believe it draws a lot of power, which means you'll probably also have to upgrade your power supply
Yeah.
and probably your fans, and then add a liquid cooling, and then
Sorry, Huck, do
everything
you know how much
else.
Yeah.
the 1080 is? It looks like 699 here.
1080 or 3080?
3080, pardon me, sorry.
I thought it was 699 US.
Okay, all right. I think that's what I'm seeing too. So I gotta ask. You got disposable cash. Let's go back to the beginning of the show. Put them in order. You're at a shelf. You can buy a 3080, an Xbox One Series X, or a PlayStation 5, let's say on November 12th. Which one would you buy? And be honest.
I would probably buy, to be honest, a Series X.
You were just trying to get my PlayStation pre-order before the show.
Well, you put me in this hot spot here. But I'll
This is
tell you
good.
the
I wanna
reason
hear
why.
this.
I'll tell you the reason why. So if I get the 3080, I'm wasting it because I don't have a 4K monitor. So then I have to buy a 4K monitor. Like I said, I probably don't have a good enough power supply. I have to buy another power supply. So I'm looking at really like $2,000 to $3,000 expense for that.
Let's negate that. Let's say your PC, whatever you have, could support that card.
Then I still have to get a 4K monitor.
No, you have that. Let's ignore
Okay.
that stuff.
Then I would get that.
Okay, all right.
If I had everything else set up to have a 4K gaming experience, I would get that card because I have Game Pass. So, and that's why I would get the Series X, is because I have all these Game Pass games that will automatically up-res to 4K and be the newest version when I buy the Series X. I don't have to buy a single Series X game, and I can still enjoy 4K gaming. Whereas with the PS4, I don't have PlayStation Plus, though obviously I could buy it. And I wouldn't have any launch games that play 4K games, right? Or does PS Pro output to 4K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it does? Okay. PS4 Pro, I meant to say.
Yeah,
So maybe I would have some 4K games on PlayStation, but I would think I would have more of a 4K experience with a Series X. But if I did have my computer, obviously that would where I would go.
Just want to put out there, 4K experience is overrated in gaming. Just gonna put it.
Well, I haven't experienced it yet, though. So
It's true.
Sean,
I mean, I already got it. The PS5 is what I want.
correct answer.
correct answer.
I mean, it's obvious.
I'm actually excited about a lot of the launch titles for the PlayStation. But the only thing I was trying to argue is just that I think there are a lot of people out there that the Xbox makes a lot of sense for.
Okay. Let's see
The correct answer to Sean is no, right? Right?
where everyone stands,
wrong.
or we'll look at the numbers 2 years from now or a year from now.
I'm not saying the numbers won't be more, just like what Sean is saying. I'm just saying, like, Xbox is not going to sell like sub 1 million consoles. No one agrees with me. Do you think they're going to sell sub 1 million?
Probably not, but
Yeah.
I have
No, they're
idea.
not. They're going to sell more than 1 million.
probably because they have to get stuff for their kids for Christmas and they can't get a PlayStation 5.
Hey,
So guess
whatever.
Anyway, let's get into what we played. We're running long. I'm just going to tease something. I'm not going to get into it, but you guys can go first.
I played
Well,
nothing.
So I got something to mention that kind of ties into Xbox. Project Xcloud officially launched with Game
I
Pass
did try
this
this as
week.
well. Yeah.
And so I tried it out with my old work Android phone, and I had tried it before, and I don't know, like it worked, but I don't know. I found it did get choppy at points. I wasn't quite sure if it was my internet connection or what, but I tried it again this week, and it was pretty smooth, pretty impressive. I beat Carrion, and I was switching back and forth between playing it on the phone on xCloud and then jumping over to the Xbox One S, and the cloud just immediately syncs it. You pick up where you left off, nothing to worry
Super
about there.
handy.
And I was pretty impressed. It really worked quite well. The only issue I had, so I was using like an Xbox one controller with the clip and the phone. And my controller, I don't know, for some reason, I had to keep re-syncing the Bluetooth. I couldn't just turn it on. And obviously, this is an issue with my phone. It's nothing to do with Xcloud, but that was the only annoying thing is every time I would put it down and then pick it up later, it would be like a couple minutes to get everything connected and working. But once they were, it was pretty seamless. So,
Sean, can I suggest a title for this episode on the website?
sure.
Sean's Xcloud debacle.
I think it's going to be PS5 pre-order debacle already. That's been decided. So,
Do not.
You got it, man. You got
Go
to.
in and edit. I don't. There's going to be real trouble if you do that. I will not use bullshit clickbait headlines like that. It's not a debacle at all. If you want, you can call it insane demand for PlayStation 5. I'd be fine with it.
What about PS5 wins console war?
That I like.
Okay.
No, just PlayStation 5 launch announcement. Sounds about right.
Sure. But so just to talk about Carrion a little bit. So, I mean, we had talked about it over the past couple episodes, but I really liked this game. And, I mean, it was a good length, I found. I thought that the powers that you get as you go throughout the game, I mean, you start off feeling powerful and kind of being able to rip people apart pretty quickly. And they keep building on that. They do introduce things that are harder and a bit of a challenge, but then they give you new powers that feel even more cool and powerful. So there was a good progression there. There were a couple little things that I was like, I don't know if that, I feel like it could have been done a little better. Like I felt like I don't know how far you guys are in the game, but there's the whole thing of you can shrink and grow in size. Like you grow in size sort of throughout the game, but then there's certain puzzle things where you have to drop part of your body behind
biological mass. Yeah.
Right. And I just felt like they never really explained that. And I was really confused at first, just that the powers change depending on how big you are. But once you kind of understand that and which powers go with which size, there's some pretty neat puzzles with that. And so I thought that was pretty good. And then so we talked about the map thing. And for the most part, wasn't an issue. I thought, you complete an area and you pretty much end up right where you need to go to get into the next area. And there's not a lot of backtracking unless you want to. There's a bunch of canisters you can get at the end if you want to collect everything, but I didn't do that. But there was one point in the game where I, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, thought for sure I had screwed myself and somehow locked myself out of the next door to the next level because I just could not find it or find the switch that I needed to hit. So eventually I figured it out. But like for a while there, I thought, oh, I'm done. I got to start over from scratch. And I was kind of pissed. So maybe a map would have helped there or some sort of indicator like, hey, dummy, this is where you need to go.
I just find myself getting confused with which gate is the previous area and which one is the next area and like the signs above it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually the data for the place you would enter if you go in there versus the one you're in. And I just that stuff could have been handled a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. There's like sort of a hub world that all the other ones you go back to and then you go in. Like it just could have been labeled a little better or something to make that more obvious. But other than that, I thought it was great. It's definitely worth playing through. It's not too long, maybe 5 hours, something like that.
I'll just want to jump in here. I also tried now I didn't try it when it was in the Game Pass app. I still tried it when it was in the Xbox streaming beta app. But we had bought a somewhat new tablet for school for my son, and I tried it on there just in its stand with an Xbox controller. And I tried Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I wanted to kind of like see how it would handle a more fast-paced game, and it held up surprisingly well. So I have pretty fast internet, so that probably helped. But I know when I tried PS Now like 5 years ago, action games were unplayable. I tried God of War and it stuttered so badly I couldn't even play. But this was very smooth. There was only a few times where I felt like the player input lagged a bit. And so I was very impressed. I wasn't even on like a 5G connection or anything. It was just a regular, you know, lower end Wi-Fi connection, and it was still really good, running really well. So I was impressed with it, and it's definitely a solid option, and it makes that whole like ecosystem that Microsoft's about, where you can basically, I can play on my computer, I could jump over to my Xbox One, I can play on my phone, and I'm instantly where I was. There's no worried about manually, switching to cloud saves or anything like that. I don't have to do any of that stuff. It just comes over, just magically works, right? It's great.
It is amazing technology. It's the perfect technology for playing the most average and subpar games of the next generation.
There's
I would love
175
to be
games
wrong about
available.
that statement, by the way. I hope the games are good. I don't refuse to play good games on other consoles. I just not a lot moving the needle over on that amazing ecosystem.
I don't know how you can say that. I mean, there's a lot of games in there. Maybe you've played a lot of the good ones, but anyway, there's 175 games now available on the cloud service. So, I mean, I don't know. I assume you could just not have an Xbox console, just have an Android phone and sign up for Game Pass and start playing these, right?
Yeah, I think so. There are obviously like some console exclusive games that are only on the console, and I think there's probably some PC exclusive ones that are only on PC, like Flight Simulator.
Right.
But yeah, and I don't think all of those are on the streaming. It's not every game on the streaming, so
Right.
it's not all
But
the same
I'm wondering
across.
if Microsoft is going to put out some sort of handheld thing at some point for this. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I know there's like Razer just put out this controller thing that basically looks like the Switch. You just pop your phone right in the middle, and it's like you've got a Switch, basically. So
Do they need to though?
Yeah,
I mean,
wouldn't
they
that
have
be
this
like
technology. They don't need
entire
to.
strategy? Like the idea would be the device has been commoditized by anything with an internet connection.
And
yeah,
didn't
I
we
guess that's
just
true. Everybody's
and,
got an Android phone, so
and didn't we literally talk about I think Frank brought up that he speculated that they were going to announce that Xbox Game Pass was on the Switch. So you
Just
basically
want to
just
bring it up.
backdoor your way into not needing any hardware at all
hmm
and be on the real most popular console.
Okay, well, I'll get into that next then. So, you know, a lot of talk about this obsession with platinum trophies, all this stuff. I get it. I'm fine with it. And for the record, if I do continue to play games, or when I continue to play games on PlayStation, I will use a trophy guide. I have no problems using trophy guides. This is not a response to people complaining about me using trophy guides. Don't care. Love them. But I figured, you know what? I got to switch it up. I got to break it up. This obsession with platinum trophies, among other things, I need a break. I gotta switch it up. So we'll see how long this lasts. And we're running late, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But I'm going to try to immerse myself in the world of Nintendo until
nice.
the PlayStation 5 launches. So I'm looking at a lot of Switch games to try. I've currently gone back and restarted Breath of the Wild. I'm probably about 8 hours in or something like that. Still have a lot of issues, but I do like the game. Don't get me wrong, but 10 out of 10 masterpiece status for this game is absolutely insane. Uh, anyway,
No way.
well, we'll get into it.
I'm with Frank. I'm with Frank.
That is not to say it is not a great game by any means, but people who defend everything about this game, it just again blows my mind. The incredulity is making my head explode. But anyway, playing that. Also got the 3D Mario All Stars. Been playing a bit of Mario 64. Got about 15 stars in that today.
Great game.
And the fact that it's HD, like it looks amazing for how old it is. Like those games look really good in HD. So been enjoying that. Debating getting into Animal Crossing, um, Fire Emblems,
hmm
Xenoblade, and even Pokemon a bit.
Xenoblade. Get
Yep.
out of here.
And what was the other one I'm debating buying? Can't remember. Did I say Astral Chain?
Nope.
No, you
Astral,
should try that game. It's fun.
yeah. I mean, $80 is the one thing. Like these
Yeah.
games never go on sale.
Check your
Yeah.
library. Check the
Maybe I will.
library.
And I might even. I haven't decided yet. I'm really intrigued by this Hades game that came out today by the people, Supergiant Games. I think, is that right?
Yeah, don't get it on Switch though.
It's only available on Switch and PC.
Yeah, get it on PC then.
Nah, I'd buy Switch over PC. But again, so pissed that it's not on PlayStation 4. But you know what? I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna get over these weird hang-ups.
It will be. Just be patient.
Yeah, I might just buy it. You know what? I'm gonna switch phase until November 12th. I might pick it up and try it out before next week. I'm hearing great things.
You didn't say Pokemon, bud?
Oh, that was the other one. I am considering Pokemon Sword or Shield.
And have you played Crosscode more?
No. That's not going to happen.
Embarrassing.
I do want to play it. Don't get me wrong. I was really liking what I was playing, but entering a Nintendo phase for the next 2 months is the plan. Now, it might change. Don't roast me if I change my mind, but I'm trying to commit to that, trying to break away from this struggle with trophies. It's been a while since I've played some Nintendo stuff. Switching it up a bit, literally. Pardon the pun. I did not even
switching it up.
I didn't even intend that. I swear to God. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I'm going into a Switch phase too, Frank, because I also got the Mario 3D All Stars, and I've been going back to Paper Mario as well. So
what do you think of that game? That one is a bit on my list too.
It's become a bit of a grind. I got to be honest with you. There's stuff I like about it, but I don't know. The first 8 hours I was into it, and then it just I don't know. It hasn't really progressed. Nothing changes in terms of combat or anything like that. So it's feeling a little stale, but it's a good game to grind away while you're watching something on TV or something,
I hear you. That's why we play games.
I'm going to go into a no games at all phase. So enjoy, boys.
Nice.
If any listeners have recommendations for exclusive Switch games that I should play, don't recommend anything that's on other consoles. I'm intrigued.
You should try Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
I have that. I should get into that again. And I'm going to try to dabble a bit more. Where over the summer, I would start a game and just play it nonstop until I platinumed it. I'm going to try bouncing back and forth between. Just take a whole new approach on games for a few months and see where I end up. So for all those people saying I'm a PlayStation fanboy, insane person, I'm not. I'm switching it up for a while. And I have no allegiances whatsoever. Just want to play games that I like.
Could I just say that this whole bouncing around state you're in is perfect for a library card. You just go, you put stuff on hold, whatever comes in, you got right there.
Yeah, I might just buy 6 games tonight for $80.
or you can blow $600. It's up to you.
Might happen. It legit might happen tonight. And I might play them each for 40 minutes, but that's every Switch game I've ever bought. So worst case, I'm right back where I started. Anyway, let's wrap this thing up. I'm not even going to get into plugs this week. Maybe I should. YouTube.com /Game Junk podcast.
No.
Just Game Junk.
I can never get
the only one that is
what kind of a host am I?
Oh no, is it Game Junk podcast? I don't remember now.
Not for YouTube.
I can't remember. I'm going to try and get them consistent if I can. I think
it's
Game
just
Junk...
Twitter and the website. You got that one, GameJunkPodcast.com, I think.
Yeah, right.
Which I don't even know if you update that anymore.
No, it just redirects to the Film Junk category.
Film Junk on Twitter, My Angry Commute, and Equilibrium Sys on Twitter. Comment with some Switch recommendations that I probably ignore. But I am curious. You know what I like. You know my favorite games. If there's anything I'm missing out on, let me know. All right. Well, this got heated. I hope I didn't offend anyone, or I hope I didn't, push it too far with some of this stuff. Sean and Andrew, I apologize if,
Never.
Never
too far.
I'm done. I'm done with Game Junk.
Okay. Sorry. But we'll be back next week to really talk about PlayStation 5 and Tenet for an hour. So imagine if they announced the
and other debacles.
What about exclusive 4K Blu-rays? Tenet exclusive to PlayStation 5. How amazing would that be? Like region or system locked 4Ks. Anyway,
System locked 4Ks.
When is the Xbox pre-order date, by the way?
Don't worry. I don't know because they haven't let me.
Oh, it's September 22nd. So next week,
yeah.
we'll be discussing their pre-order debacle next week then.
Excellent.
The debacle is they're on sale. $20 off. Nobody wants these things. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.